Mrs. Yarrodabersi.
Ave Satanas! Hail Satan! Hail Satan! Hail Satan!
Greetings, heathens. Welcome to Hail Satan. This is the podcast exploring Satanism, culture, and life in general through the eyes of modern Satanists. My name is Joseph Rose. I'm part of an amazing congregation called Satanic Delco, and we welcome members from anywhere in the world. If you want to learn a little more about that, visit satanicdelco.com. Today, I'm going to talk about wonder. There will be talk of magic, so beware. If you like the idea of magic, or if you don't like the idea of magic and think it's stupid, this episode is for you. If you have a moment, please visit the website at hailsatanpodcast.com. You'll find links to join me on social media, a form to send me an email, which I strongly suggest that you do, and a link to join up with the whole gang on Patreon. We have a few different tiers to choose from with various benefits, including Greetings from Hell. This is the one-of-a-kind Satanic Postcard of the Month Club. But aside from that, joining us grants you access to Satanic Delco's private Facebook group, our lively private Discord server, our weekly Zoom gatherings, game nights, movie nights, music Zooms, full video episodes of Late Night with Satanic Delco, stickers in the mail, bonus content, special events, and much more. If you're interested in being part of an active, thriving satanic community, Satanic Delco is where you'll find it. All right, guys. It's been longer than I'd hoped it would be since the last time I did an episode or finished an essay related to Outsider Satanism. There are many reasons for that. The main reasons are that I was overthinking and being ridiculous about it. And the other reason is that Satanic Delco has just been extremely busy with so many things. I won't go on about it now, but it's been a really fun and productive time in Satanic Delco. If you aren't familiar with Outsider Satanism, I would suggest you look at outsidersatanism.com and some of my previous podcast episodes on the subject. There is a list of values on the website. Each one includes a short synopsis, and one by one, I'm working to expand upon each of the values in the form of an essay. This one, the value of wonder, is the third of these essays. Rather than give you any kind of disclaimer or explanation ahead of time, I will just read you the essay. I'll give you the short synopsis at the very beginning and then get right into the essay. Wonder. Real magic is found in things like a powerful orgasm, a mind-expanding psychedelic trip, or the sound of your favorite song. When our lives become void of the pursuit and appreciation of wonder, that is when our death has begun. Seek out the truly beautiful moments in life. Seize the day. Magic has had a connection to Satanism since its very inception. And like so much of the imagery and terminology associated with Satanism, its meaning and place within the religion has been dissected and debated from nearly every angle. The choice to use the term magic in the context of Outsider Satanism is rooted partially in acknowledgement of the history and tradition of modern Satanism. Additionally, the word plays a role in capturing the feeling of wonder that makes life enjoyable for so many of us. It's important to understand what magic is and what it isn't. If the inclusion of the word magic is an immediate turnoff to you, I'd suggest that perhaps Satanism isn't for you. Anton LaVey wrote extensively about magic in the Satanic Bible. He defined it as the change in situations or events in accordance with one's will, which would, using normally accepted methods, be unchangeable. I would interpret normally accepted methods to be methods that are known and widely accepted by modern science. But what did LaVey actually believe? It's hard to say. For all of the subjective charm and wit that he aimed to express, it often came at the expense of conviction. On one hand, he was all about rational self-interest, but he also suggested that he killed Sam Brody with a curse in 1967. And I get it. He liked to tell fun tales. He liked Satanism to be a custard that can't be nailed to the wall. I'm not here to spoil the fun. In fact, Outsider Satanism expands on magic in ways that LaVey didn't. I do, however, aim to be more clear. People like Harry Houdini, David Copperfield, and David Blaine are magicians. They perform tricks and create illusions for entertainment. This is stage magic. There is also supernatural magic, as used by characters like Harry Potter and Doctor Strange. Of course, that type of magic is limited to fictional characters because it isn't real. The definition of magic that best suits us in the context of Outsider Satanism is a quality that makes something seem removed from everyday life, especially in a way that gives delight. What matters most is the feeling. If you've ever sincerely expressed something like, "Wow, this feels so magical," then perhaps you understand. How often do you experience a genuine sense of astonishment? How about amazement or fascination? When was the last time you felt mesmerized or that something you've witnessed was truly breathtaking? For many, these feelings are all too rare, if not completely absent from life. The pursuit and appreciation of these feelings is an integral part of Outsider Satanism. The stage magic that illusionists perform is appealing to so many people because it evokes a playful curiosity and excitement. We get to watch a fun show, and we get to wonder how the trick was done. It presents us with a momentary escape. Life provides enough obstacles, pain, and assorted hardships that a desire for temporary escape is relatable to most of us. Since we won't be spending any significant portion of our lives at magic shows, we need to find other ways to introduce those feelings of curiosity, escapism, and wonder. We need to first open our minds to these feelings as well as prioritize them while navigating our busy schedules. As earth-dwelling modern humans, we're lucky that there are so many opportunities to do just that. If we're not mindful, societal pressures and personal struggles can easily be allowed to eclipse our pursuit of wonder. Yet, it is precisely in these moments, amidst the monotonous grind of life, that seeking wonder becomes a vital act of rebellion and self-preservation. Outsider Satanism champions this rebellion, urging us to resist monotony and the soul-crushing weight of conformity. Your divorce, your broken-down car, your irritating boss, and disappointing bank account balance may all feel like obstacles, but they're also reminders of why escapism and wonder are so valuable. If you let the negative parts of life pile up without adding positives to the other side of the scale, you will never feel a healthy balance. Wonder isn't only found in grand gestures or extraordinary events. It often lives in the subtleties and nuances of everyday experiences. Recognizing this requires a certain mindset, a willingness to pause and appreciate the world through a lens of sincere curiosity and appreciation. Outsider Satanism urges you not to wait for wonder to find you, but to actively seek it out, nurture it, and let it flourish in your life. If you already know what turns you on, that's a great start. But for some of us, particularly those who have allowed passions to lie dormant for too long, it may take some work. Looking back at what excited you earlier in life might be a valuable first step toward rekindling some of that passion. Try to remember the feeling you had when you were alone, painting or drawing for hours, or when you listened intently to your favorite album or an exciting new one that really captured your attention, reading the lyrics along the way, distraction-free. Surely there was something, right? Within Outsider Satanism, we recognize two categories of magic. The first is known as natural magic. This is finding magic in the mundane. Natural magic is found in what already exists all around us, and it's a little different for everyone. It can be found in nature, but also in technology, art, and all of man's creations. When your mind is blown, this is the thing that blows it. It's the feeling you get for that special someone in your life. You were just with them, but it feels like you need to see them again immediately or else you might actually perish. And then you see them and you kiss. Magic. And if you're thinking something like, that isn't magic, it's totally explainable by science. Yes, one way or another, everything can be boiled down to some interaction of atoms, brain chemicals, and points on a graph. But again, if you get stuck on that view of things, Satanism probably isn't for you. We're here to elevate and romanticize the little things for our own benefit, not to shrink the best parts of the human experience down to a formula or a paragraph in a textbook. Even the simple act of categorizing parts of life as magical naturally conjures a playfulness within us. For some of us, the usage of the word is a bit tongue-in-cheek, while acknowledging the very real power of the mind. I can't begin to tell you what magic looks or feels like for you, but I can share a bit about how natural magic works for me. Perhaps it can serve as an example or inspiration for where to look in your own life. Most of us are familiar with the sex, drugs, and rock and roll cliche. It became a cliche because it was so commonly used, and it was so commonly used because it's so true. The sterile, cynical types out there might immediately focus on the negative, extreme examples of that lifestyle, but that isn't within the scope of our subject matter. In Outsider Satanism, balance is always part of the equation. While sex, drugs, and rock and roll don't literally encompass all of what gives me magical or wondrous feelings, it covers more than enough to gain an understanding. It's also just a fun way to describe my magic. And just as a reminder, fun is a good thing that we want more of. Among the many hobbies and pastimes I've immersed myself in over the years, skydiving is one that might fit into the spirit of that lifestyle without actually involving those specific elements. Being a licensed skydiver gives me an opportunity to experience excitement, skill building, camaraderie, accomplishment, and overcoming genuine fear. It's a thrilling, magical experience every time. I won't dwell on my feelings about skydiving here, but often enough I catch myself on the plane, looking out a window or the open door, thinking about how wild it is that I get to do such an outrageous, extraordinary thing as a hobby. It's infinitely more magical than being on the ground watching others do it. It's been said that Satanism is a carnal religion, and indeed it is. Perhaps more than any other aspect, carnality is deeply intertwined with sexuality. Not merely the act itself, but the full spectrum of sensuality and sexual desire. These are among our most primal human instincts, and Satanism celebrates those innate urges that some religions seek to suppress. I celebrate them too, as often as possible. For example, when the most delicious woman in my life gives me a passionate kiss and my manhood immediately stiffens. Or those occasions when I notice even the faintest smell of her and instinctively feel the need to squeeze or bite a part of her, no matter where we happen to be. Some days, a kiss may just be a kiss, and a smell might go completely unacknowledged. Magic is when it gets your attention and you allow yourself to be swept up in the moment. You are responsible for recognizing and maximizing that moment. If you're doing it right, sex is already fun at the very least. but being present in the moment and truly appreciating the whole of the experience is when it becomes magical. By default, most sexual encounters are mutually pleasurable to some degree, but you might find yourself to be the giver or receiver in any particular moment. They're both pretty great. Consider the amazing power and confidence that comes with knowing you can transform your partner into a puddle of post-orgasmic gratitude nearly on demand. That's an amazing superpower. Without a doubt, that confidence will also benefit you in other areas of life. Conversely, some of us are lucky or deserving enough to have such a skilled, enchanting partner who can use those powers of pleasure to our benefit. I have a special appreciation for a woman who masterfully employs the fine art of fellatio. Few moments in life are as magical to me as the culmination of those primal, lustful interactions. Many women boast about this particular ability, but in reality, only a precious few ever reach true mastery of this witchcraft. If sex is the most primal part of natural magic for me, drugs are the most otherworldly. After spending the first 37 years of my life very intentionally sober, I found myself considering a change. I'd been generally depressed for far too long, and life had started to feel like little more than a monotonous series of struggles and disappointments. I was seeing a therapist every week during this period of contemplation and talked openly about my state of mind. After much research and introspection, my mind had changed. I decided that I wanted some drugs. My mind was open to a small selection of organic substances, specifically cannabis, mushrooms, and DMT. It felt natural to start with the devil's lettuce, so I did. And it didn't take long at all to feel the magic that this wonderful plant had to offer. In fact, it started long before I even had any in my possession. I was so genuinely curious, nervous, and excited about the whole illicit adventure that I was embarking on. I took every step with intention. I considered and planned out the method I would use to consume it, where I would consume it, and what I would do while stoned. What I chose to do was wake up early, vaporize some finely ground cannabis flower outside of the gym, and listen to music while I work out or run. What a fantastic combination it turned out to be. There I was, day after day, working out at 7 a.m., high as can be with a smile on my face as I listened to music that I love. I was hearing albums as if it were the first time, only better. It was as though I could completely control the mix of the song with my mind. I could have more guitar, focus on the vocal, isolate the bass. It was truly a shocking, joyous discovery. If this isn't magical, what is? During the last several years of my mother's life, our relationship was rocky. She'd been struggling in regards to her mental health for quite some time. Addiction had become a factor, and at that point in my life, I wasn't equipped to express much empathy or compassion for her. My feeling at the time was that she was lazy and making poor excuses for not being more independent or ambitious. When she died, I was left with a surplus of anger and resentment to go along with the shock and sadness of losing my mother. Those feelings carried on for years. Growing up, music was central to our relationship. My earliest exposure and experiences with music all directly involved her. Once I started getting high at age 37, the music I was listening to would often trigger nostalgia, connecting that great music directly to memories of my mother. As this continued, a collection of positive memories of time with my mother began to add up and add balance to my overall recollection of her and our relationship. Eventually, the anger and resentment just didn't show up very much. It's not that I've forgotten or suppressed reality, but I healed the part of me that was allowing negative feelings to dominate my relationship with my mother after her death. I feel strongly that cannabis was the catalyst for this healing. Knowing that a plant can sprout up from the dirt and cause such a significant impact in my life feels magical to me. Once it began, my relationship with cannabis carried on happily for a few months before I was ready to take another step into this wondrous new world of organic, mind-altering substances. And what a step it was. N,N-dimethyltryptamine, or DMT, would be my next stop. I'll use restraint when thinking back through so many of my DMT trips. Without question, the most mind-blowing, astonishing experiences of my life have been a result of DMT. There's no combination of words that could begin to do justice to my adventures with this incredible natural substance. I'd known DMT to be among the most potent, powerful psychedelic compounds on Earth. With so little experience using any drugs, I was more than a bit nervous about trying it. What helped ease my trepidation was knowing the duration of the trip is generally only a few minutes long. My thinking was that even if I don't like it for whatever reason, it would be over in a few minutes. Surely I could handle a few minutes. And while my first attempts resulted in very mild hallucinations, once I perfected my method of consumption, my life would never be the same. Over the course of many visits to the so-called DMT realm, I saw and felt things that I never imagined possible, and interacted with entities like the ones famed psychonaut Terence McKenna called machine elves. Trust me, I know just how that sounds to the uninitiated. In addition to all the mind-bending cosmic fireworks, DMT has also given me some useful insights into my own feelings and behavior. I keep notes on some of the DMT life lessons I've taken from my trips, and they've helped me in very tangible ways on several occasions over the years. It's pretty common that people aren't able to adequately describe their DMT trips. It's so unlike everyday life that there's simply no real context for comparison. I've found myself sitting or laying down in very familiar spaces where I live with my mouth agape in complete and utter astonishment at what I was seeing and feeling. It is the DMT experience, more than any other in my life, that feels like it could be the direct result of a long-bearded wizard waving a mystical magic wand in my direction and chanting a forbidden ancient rhyme. It has to be experienced to be believed. Fascinated with what psychedelics could offer me, there was but one last forbidden fruit on my to-do list. It was the aptly named magic mushroom. And wow, magic indeed. While the mushrooms do offer some interesting and often beautiful visual effects, that isn't what keeps me coming back. Among the most enjoyable effects of mushrooms for me is the way the mundane is made fascinating. When under the influence of psilocybin mushrooms, I'm often overtaken with childlike wonder. I experience true wide-eyed amazement while looking at animals, either in person or on TV. On many occasions, I've cried while listening to music simply because it felt so powerful and immersive. I've been enthralled by the wavy grass in my own backyard. I've even wept while staring up into the night sky, feeling overwhelmed by the scale and beauty of it all. It was among the most breathtaking, awe-inspiring experiences of my life. The mushrooms are nearly guaranteed to make whatever I'm doing feel significantly better or more intense. When I want a calm, contemplative trip, I can settle into bed or a comfortable place at home and drift into an introspective journey through my past, present, and future. It can also give me a critical, objective view of myself. And while that may not always be the most fun part of a trip, it is tremendously valuable. I've had just about every kind of mushroom trip, including some difficult, challenging ones. The very best days I've ever experienced have been spent under the influence of mushrooms. They were truly magical experiences, and I don't regret a single one of them. In The Satanic Witch, Anton LaVey wrote, "Drugs are antithetical to the practice of magic as they tend to disassociate the user from reality, even though he oftentimes thinks himself closer." I disagree with old Anton here. I think these substances are reality. They exist in nature, and the effects they have on us can be explained using scientific terms and data. But I'm fine with allowing them to simply feel magical. Long before sex or drugs entered my life, music had already taken root. Music is my first and most enduring love. Not only listening to it, but also writing and recording it, performing it in front of an audience, debating about it, and generally obsessing over it. From the earliest age, music has been woven into the fabric of who I am. Many of my earliest and fondest memories are centered around music, and it became important to me long before I understood why. Music has the uncanny ability to connect directly into your emotional state and completely transform how you feel, sometimes in an instant. Like that moment when you're driving down the road, window open, and that song comes on. You know the one. When the right song combines with the right moment, it doesn't just change your mood, it can alter the entire atmosphere around you. Music also has the power to unlock long-forgotten memories and transport you instantly to another time and place. For example, hearing songs from the soundtrack to the 1992 film Singles immediately paints a vivid picture of a very specific time and place. It comes along with a cast of characters from my life, the clothes we wore, the chairs we sat in, and the food we ate. It reminds me of past adventures, wins and losses. I can still feel how those songs made me feel so long ago. Like mushrooms and cannabis, music is an ingredient that can be added to a wide variety of situations to elevate them in some way. I've assembled playlists for virtually every mood, activity, and situation. Running music that drives me forward when I'm exhausted, dance party anthems that enhance a gathering, even albums that feel perfectly suited to specific seasons. Some records feel like summer, while others capture the introspective melancholy of late autumn. And then there are those special, timeless songs that connect in a way that is primal and instinctive, where I simply can't help but turn up the volume and become enraptured by the sound. Every era and phase of my life has its own distinct musical soundtrack. I remember relationships, experiences, and entire periods of time through the music I was listening to at those times. There are moments when it feels like a song contains a magical spell, granting me temporary access to time travel. Among all of my countless experiences with music, one often stands out to me as being particularly visceral and powerful. It demonstrates how natural magic can compound when multiple elements align. Listening to Lateralis from the band Tool while immersed in a DMT trip has given me some of my most profound music listening moments. In those instances, the music doesn't just accompany the experience, it becomes inseparable from it. The song seemingly flows through and around me until there's no meaningful distinction between the music, my body, and the space I occupy. Everything merges into one fluid, incomparable living experience. There's a particular moment in the song when the rhythm section comes crashing back in, and the impact is so overwhelming that I've not only been moved to tears, but I could barely contain the emotional outpouring it triggered. When I get to experience this, I feel understood by the universe itself. It's a sensation of profound connection that exists beyond language. This isn't magic in spite of being explicable by neuroscience and sound waves. It's magic because of the way it makes me feel. Our second category of magic is manifest magic. Natural magic can be summarized as magic that we find in the world, and manifest magic is what we intentionally create or manipulate. In LaVeyan Satanism, lesser magic is the use of one's charm, appearance, and persuasion to influence others, while greater magic refers to formalized ritual. For Outsider Satanism, those concepts both exist under the umbrella of manifest magic, as they both require intention and action on our part. Among the most powerful magic any of us can hope to perform is the act of creation. If the illusion of making something disappear is traditionally considered magic, actually making something appear from thin air is surely worthy of being described as magical. For example, where there was once a blank page, the creative magician can make the lyrics to a brand new song appear. Similar tricks might be turning a blank canvas into a stunning masterpiece one brushstroke at a time, or willing a passing thought into a written essay that can inspire or infuriate strangers all around the world. In cases where such acts of creativity result in tangible contributions to your livelihood, they exemplify the most deeply meaningful magic in our world. Experienced or jaded creators can allow themselves to take such magic for granted, but we should be careful to never lose sight of how truly special it is. With so much of the world being occupied by passionless consumers, I say be the black sheep. Of course, not everyone will be a creator. For any number of reasons, some people will never develop the motivation, confidence, or skills to delve deep into the intentional act of creation. And that's nothing to be ashamed of. Regardless, we all have the responsibility of finding the magic in everyday life. We need to recognize and cultivate wonder not only when the opportunity presents itself, but especially when it doesn't. Sometimes it may require a significant conscious effort. When laziness sets in, followed by complacency, that can spell the end of wonder in one's life. Suggesting that laziness is the whole story would be an oversimplification, considering all of the many obstacles that may stand in the way. But in the end, it may just come down to how bad do you want it? As for satanic ritual, it has evolved to take on countless forms in the decades since the publishing of the Satanic Bible and the Satanic Rituals. The very specific, prescriptive rituals presented there are only a tiny sliver of what Satanists are actually practicing in the real world. Nowadays, ritual creation and participation has become completely democratized, which is exactly how it should be in a religion so focused on the individual. There are no one-size-fits-all solutions for altering one's mindset or empowering oneself. Outsider Satanism advocates for a completely limitless, do-it-yourself attitude toward ritual. When it comes to achieving your personal goals, there's no reason to get bogged down by needing a specific prop or checking a compass to face in the correct direction. Developing the ability to suspend disbelief is far more valuable to your ritual practice than following another man's instructions and rules. In addition, crafting your own ritual from scratch is another opportunity to perform the magical act of creation. My own simple running ritual demonstrates a personalized, less traditional approach. It begins around 5 o'clock a.m. when I'm forced to make a choice. I can make weak excuses to stay in bed like most people, or I can be the rare breed of bad motherfucker who gets up at an uncomfortable time and does something difficult to start my day. After consuming a reasonable amount of marijuana to enhance my experience, I enter the local track through a locked gate designed to keep me out. I don't have any control over that gate being locked, but I like when it is because it further reinforces the idea that I am unstoppable. No padlock stands between me and my mission. Once I'm running, the experience becomes an explosion of sensory input. The early morning sky, the music in my ears, the sweat, the struggle, all while being completely focused on the present moment. Occasionally, as the sun rises into view, I repeat a mantra that came to me spontaneously during a morning run. I am the light bringer. I summon the sun. While common people rest, I gather power and run. I am the light bringer. I summon the sun. While common people rest, I gather power and run. The ritual transforms me. It makes me better. It makes me stronger both physically and mentally. It builds good habits and increases my confidence. It also ensures that no matter what happens for the rest of the day, I've already done the most difficult part and I started with a win. This unconventional ritual, just like the one that you may create, is no more or less powerful than one that includes fire, a black cloak, and chants of "Hail Satan." You are limited only by your imagination. This is manifest magic at work. Magic exists in many forms. One of those forms is you. For your own sake, learn to find it, create it, and wield it. Stay hungry. And that is the end. I shared a nearly final draft of this essay with Satanic Delco a while back, and I was planning to share some of the feedback that I got, but I think I'm going to wait. I decided that I should release this and post the essay online and invite you all to send me any questions, criticisms, and feedback, and then I can come back to follow up and address all of that in a separate episode. So drop me an email and share your thoughts, please. And before I go, there is one last thing. I've been doing some different live streams, primarily on YouTube and also on Patreon. We've done several episodes of Late Night with Satanic Delco, and we'll be doing more of those. And more recently, I've started one called The Witching Hour. I suggest you go subscribe on YouTube and definitely follow along on Instagram because that's where I'm most active. If you have a moment, please visit the website at hailsatanpodcast.com. Stay safe out there, and hail Satan.
Yes, no, I'm gonna shit in it. He will free his